Hail and Matches Kingdom. As you can see, I decided to download Diablo 4 and give you my honest review, how it feels compared to Path of Exile 2, in which I got more than 2000 hours on 2 accounts, while I got 0 experience in Diablo 4. Decision to make this video came to me when I realized that Diablo have moved release date for upcoming Season 11. They basically decided to release the new season on the same launch day with 0.4 Path of Exile 2, which is insanely big release with new endgame changes and also free weekend. And probably this is the first thing we need to compare: game prices. Yep. To fully enjoy Diablo 4 you need a base game and also DLC. You may say they not cost a lot, because they basically priced the same as skin bundle from Path of Exile 2. But even though Path of Exile is kinda paid right now, because you need to pay for early access, in reality Path of Exile 2 will be completely free to play game. So I waited a little bit and got my nice deal for Diablo 4 on a recent weekend. Downloaded 120 GB and welcomed by this.
Warning. There was a problem logging in. Code 1.
Yeah, they got AI voiceover for everything that's going on the screen. It's pretty weird, so I instantly turned it off and enjoyed cinematic. This cinematics is always insanely good. Yeah, Blizzard know how to make them. It kinda sets up the story. Basically there's a village, and somewhere below this village there is cave with monsters and bunch of thieves who try to steal some treasures, but there's actually no treasures behind this door. There's only troubles. Some unknown forces destroys party of adventurers, then a Quan Chi appears. He's actually a necromancer or ritualist, and he finished a ritual by summoning some big demon lady. Her name is Lilith, and basically we are ready to play Diablo 4. At least that's what I thought. After going through 5 minutes of cinematics, I finally can create my class. There's 6 of them right now, and I decided to stop on a druid, because druid will be in a new expansion of Path of Exile 2. We can customize our character, and I decided to make Afra druid, because Afra looks cool. Modes are kinda the same as in Path of Exile. And also we got an option to skip campaign. Of course I will play campaign, and right now I can select difficulty to watch a bunch of cinematics. Yeah, they will be made on a game engine, and it kinda cool, because right now we can see our character in game, in cinematics. It's pretty interesting, I would say, and immersive. Until finally I can start a game. We'll get here later, because right now I want to compare it to start in Path of Exile 2. In Path of Exile 2 there is basically little cinematic that when you load the game first it lasts for 1 minute, and then before you start the game after choosing your character it takes like 5 seconds. You can decide what's better, but let me explain why I think Path of Exile 2 formula is superior. We escape Executioner and run towards a village. In village there's a bunch of zombies and we need to figure out what's going on. So technically we dropped right into an action, with a bunch of mysteries that we need to figure out. In Diablo 4, while they creating a nice grim mood, they actually unveiled everything that will happen after. There's a village with cultists, they are bad, so beware. Also that's where I am after playing 25 minutes of Diablo 4. And that's where I am after playing 25 minutes of Path of Exile 2. And I'm not hating, it's different experience, it's normal, and I just want to showcase this difference. So finally I met my first enemies. It was wargs, or basically wolves. And we can compare feeling of combat. I would say it feels okay, but something is really off. Basically there is no impact, or almost no impact. There is funny ragdolls, so whenever you crush wolves or crush objects, there's ragdolls going all over the place, and in some situations it's really funny, but I don't know, maybe it's animations, there is technically no feeling of really big impact. However, definitely it's on completely another level compared to other modern ARPGs. Also, since we are technically in tutorial level right now, basically with just starting campaign, let's point out that atmosphere and overall feeling is really great. We're somewhere in the mountains, we're lost, it's looking pretty good. Sadly, this atmosphere will be completely lost when we reach open world. Yeah, there's a lot less contrast, visual clarity is pretty meh. And if you want to say, well, in campaign it's good, no, it's good in tutorial. because campaign actually set up in the open world. So after clearing tutorial level, we will get into open world immediately. Actually, we even right now in open world, and I guess I can skip this first quest and just go hunt monsters. And let's not forget, we need to compare this to Path of Exile 2 combat. In Path of Exile 2 you feel impact a lot more. You feel how you hit enemies with quarterstaff, how you shoot them with shotgun aka crossbow. You feel impact when enemies touch you, when they push you, so in my opinion Path of Exile 2 game feel is like far more superior. But let's get back to our Afra druid. After hunting wolves for a while, I got to the village and finished my first quest that instantly gave me enough experience to get level 2, and we can check skill system and how it will work in terms of build crafting. Every level we got points that we can allocate into different skills. Part of the tree is initially blocked, and we initially can see different branches. There's bear skill, there's wolf skill, and bunch of elemental skills. Also, as you can see, they branch out, so we can kinda alterate how skills will work a little bit. I decided to start as bear and crushed wolves a lot better right now. New skill helped me to defeat first boss. It's kinda still mini boss in tutorial level. Speaking about boss fights, well, all abilities is a lot more telegraphed if they can be avoided, and we can avoid it by using dodge button, so it's similar to Path of Exile 2 dodge, but it's completely different mechanic wise, because you can't use it to dodge basic attacks, for example, at least in my experience. After defeating few monsters, we can watch bunch of cinematics again, and again Blizzard nailed it. Yeah, cinematics adds a lot of emotion and feeling to campaign. It feels great, it looks great, but we are in an open world right now, so I'm following a road and clearing monsters on my way if I want to. If I don't want, I can use horse. Anyway, let's dive a little bit deeper in skill system of Diablo 4. While on the surface it looks like we got unlimited options, most important part of any skill is what role it will fulfill. In Path of Exile 2, right from the beginning, you need to kinda dive a little bit deep into system and understand what skills can do, and then determine what they will do based on support gems you will insert. This actually adds a lot of flexibility to skills. For example, we can add some support gems and it will increase power of freeze on our cold damage skills, and we will freeze enemies and disable them a lot faster, to remove them from existence with different abilities that takes a little bit time to detonate. On other hand, we can add more area to the skill and more damage, therefore it will be more useful against packs of smaller enemies, but it will be worse in terms of freezing and disabling bosses, so you actually can adapt your playstyle. In Diablo 4, while you definitely can change how skills work, they will be mostly the same and will fulfill the same role as it intended. For example, first skill that I unlock will always increase my resource, and second skill that I unlock will spend resource. Its area of effect attack, which is big slam, it's pretty cool, but there is no way how I can change my first skill to start making some other tasks beside fulfilling my mana bar. I will call it like this, but basically we're fulfilling some type of resource. Also, I tried different characters and different characters got different mechanics, still kinda the same. First attacks will help you get your resource and all other attacks will spend it. This approach is actually very easy to get used to. Basically you don't need to think at all, just invest your points into a bunch of skills and they will work. While if you try to randomly do some stuff in Path of Exile 2, maybe you will end up with some weird stuff that just deals 0 damage. But there's a way how you actually can change how skills work and feel, in some cases pretty dramatically. System called Codex of Power. Basically you will find bunch of items and items will be legendary with passives that will change how your skills work. After unlocking any aspect, you can craft it completely deterministically. In my opinion, it looks pretty similar to support gem system in Path of Exile 2. There's another endgame system called Paragon. It's a big board of passive skills, and most of them are pretty boring. Actually, all of them are pretty boring, they just gives you more and more damage. After reaching level 60, you continue to get experience in this board, and it goes up to level 300. I can compare the system to passive skill tree in Path of Exile 2. However, in passive skill tree in Path of Exile 2, there's some dramatic changes in how your character plays out. Also, passive tree in Path of Exile 2 is shared across all characters. And in Diablo 4 we got a bunch of boards that is predetermined by your class. So if you're interested in creating some cool builds, actually Diablo 4 is pretty bad game for this. While on the surface there's a bunch of systems that can be cool, for my taste it lacks sandbox feel. Basically, everything feels predetermined. For example, if we go for bear skills, most of them will have some ways to activate overpower mechanic. If you go for werewolf, they will have a bunch of ways how you can activate vulnerable mechanic. And of course, when you're trying to make your character powerful, you want to max out these mechanics. Therefore, while there is definitely a room for experimentation and mixing builds, you can do werewolf, bear, human casting mix. In 99% of the cases, if you go for werewolf, you want to stick with werewolves throughout the game. That's me 15 minutes in the game, I'm slashing and smashing. That's me 40 minutes in the game, I'm still slashing and smashing. And that's me around 4 hours in the game, again, slashing and smashing. I don't know if you look at this exactly like me, but I see exactly zero difference in game design and area diversity when I go through these dungeons. So comparing it just to first act of Path of Exile 2, well, we got forest, we got different lakes, we got different villages, Mushroom Kingdom underground, and overall more clear look and style. There's definitely something that looks better in Diablo 4, but honestly I don't know what, because to me this look is far more superior and interesting, and a lot more cool to progress through instead of same looking dungeons. Yeah. Speaking about progression, it's really important topic for a RPG. Some parts of Diablo 4 progression is really good, and I enjoyed them a lot, mostly because they kinda separated. For example, in Path of Exile 2, you instantly from the beginning need to understand how skill system work, how passive skill tree system work, and how support gem system work. Well, in Diablo 4 they technically separated in different game parts. You kinda starting only with skill gem system and there is no support gem. Then throughout the campaign, in the mid game, you will unlock kinda support system. Basically you will be able to craft your gear with aspects that will affect your skills. And then, closer to the end game, you will unlock Paragon tree, which is kinda passive skill tree. So all the systems is designed to not overwhelm player, which is really good. But there is a bad part. They actually designed in very strict way. As I told you, the first skill will always be designed to give you basically resource to use all other skills. At the same time, it can be kinda altered with 1 or 2 options. One option can give you ability to sometime make 2 attacks instead of 1, and second option will give you ability to poison enemies. Later you will find that one of your skills is actually scaling with poison damage or deals extra damage to poisoned enemies. Therefore you technically got no other option than to pick this poison damage to just increase damage of your other skills. Yeah, it's simplified explanation, but technically that's how all skills works in the game. In Path of Exile 2, every skill also got some idea behind it, but since it doesn't matter what class you play, you got shared passive skill tree, you got same support gems based on your weapon and your skills, you actually in sandbox mode, and that's why there's loads of builds and fun interactions appear, and that's what make ARPG really fun for me. Ability to be creative and make builds like Burning Elephant, which is completely non-intended way to burn bosses in just few seconds. Based on my research, it's completely impossible in Diablo 4, because even Paragon boards is tied to your character and predetermined. Again, for example, in Path of Exile 2 you can make your support gems to give your ice skill ability to freeze enemies more often. The better choice will be always to increase your damage. But is it wrong to make your ice skill freeze enemies more often? Well, it's not. It's just not very optimal for fast clearing speed. But in Diablo 4, when I choose my Paragon boards, well, there's 8 of them and we can pick only 5. Of course, if we're playing werewolf, we want to pick 2 of them, which is werewolf focused, and other 3 will be just generic tables that just adds more damage. If you experience Diablo 4 player, drop in comments your examples of creative and interesting builds, but I haven't found a single one. Still, I want to end this comparison on positive note. Lack of build diversity and creativity you can put into the build crafting can be really good, because when I play Path of Exile 2, even though I like to go in blindly, still I do some research before going in. I read patch notes, I check what new support gems we will have, what changes will be, so at least I get some expectations how build will work and will it actually be possible to play something like I want to play. Well, in Diablo 4 I got in blindly, and you're actually looking at endgame gameplay right now that is played on almost highest difficulty, and I got here without any research at all. Yeah, I got in completely blindly, and all systems are so simple, build crafting is so simple that it's hard to mess up. So in terms of beginner friendly experience, yeah, Diablo 4 is just awesome. You can just turn your brain off, smash some buttons on your keyboard or controller and have some fun, if the stuff that is on screen right now is fun to you. But while it's really easy to start playing Diablo 4, is it still easy in the end game? Because end game is basically why lots of players play ARPGs. We like to go around, kill some monsters, become more powerful, get some juicy drops and improve our character even more. And end game in Diablo 4 is as simple as everything we talked about before. Basically, we hop on our mount and run into area that is overwhelmed by devilish hell forces. In this area there will be few points of interest and we just need to clear or finish some quests nearby. But all the quests are kinda the same. For example, we're running around and just by doing this we're destroying cultists. At the same time there was some big monsters and yeah, they also part of separate quests. Closing rifts left and right, this is also separate quest. And opening big chests with a big loot explosion. While it may look cool, eventually you don't care about this stuff when you got full build ready. Yeah, in terms of item progression, it's completely simple, straightforward, and I would say there's almost no item progression at all. You just equip slightly better gear every now and then, and that's it. Crafting systems are extremely simple, it just use resource and make your weapons more powerful. That's why there's even no part when we compare Path of Exile 2 item progression to Diablo 4, and I can't compare crafting systems. In Path of Exile 2 there's cool puzzle mechanics that you need to understand how crafting works. You can do something cool occasionally, but if you dive deep you actually can get good results. Here you basically just do basic stuff and get better gear no matter what. But let's get back to endgame activities. After clearing a bunch of monsters in this zone, we can summon big boss, and this big boss after being slain will drop a bunch of items, and again these items is, well, in most cases kinda useless after you acquire somewhat reasonable pieces for your build. While finishing these quests, there's another quest is going on in the background and we can collect a bunch of extra loot explosions from it. Basically there's chests that you activate from your inventory and get this loot explosion. And honestly, that's kinda it. That's almost full endgame that we got in Diablo 4. It's kinda fun, but for me it's just too brainless, and there's no sensible progression, besides probably this area in one of the towns. So to raise difficulty you need to finish Pit, and Pit is different activity. We interact with this obelisk and then we can select difficulty. After completing highest tier, it will unlock more tiers. And technically it goes indefinitely, but the scaling is exponential. So while it's definitely endgame activity, technically you just load on the map and you need to clear monsters fast. If you do it fast enough before timer runs out, you will unlock interaction with another obelisk. After slaying Pit boss, sometimes these fights are interesting, but in most cases they're not too interesting, and here's why. There's insane exponential scaling. So for example, if you feel completely fine on tier 45 and then jump to tier 50, instead of just being a little bit weaker or maybe doing slightly less damage or just a lot less damage but less damage, sometimes you just dealing no damage at all and being one-shotted by random attacks. This turns endgame into basically grind simulator. And don't get me wrong, in Path of Exile 2 endgame is kinda also a grind simulator. You just run as much maps as possible, you want to get as much loot as possible, but there's separate progressions. While you're kinda grinding, you're also looking for some interesting maps where you can drop some valuable gems or collect some loot that will be used to open boss dungeons, that will drop skill books to improve power of these interactions, and you can focus on different activities. While in Diablo 4 you grind for 1 hour to become a little bit more powerful, to see higher numbers on your screen, to increase difficulty and do the same stuff all over again. I will definitely play Druid on launch for a little bit, but then I will switch to Path of Exile 2 and will test everything new in 0.4 expansion. If you played both games, write your opinion on them in the comments. I read all of them. And see you in the next videos.